Dub is up in Lexington, Kentucky at Keeneland. He's been there all throughout the show. He'll be watching the race in person, and one of the guys that'll certainly be watching the race is Matt Carothers. He's the host and race analyst for TVG. He joins us now. Breeders' Cup coming up. Matt, for people out there who may not be familiar as much with the Breeders' Cup, $31 million in prize money at stake, $6 million in the big race itself. This is going to be a lot of fun on Saturday to watch from Keeneland.
It is, Clay. Great being on your show, and good morning. It's essentially, I mean, you mentioned the money, $31 million. It's our Super Bowl. It's horse racing Super Bowl World Series, essentially. And you have the best horses at, varying distances, age groups, genders. So it's the best, whether it's the dirt mile, the turf mile, the Breeders' Cup Distaff for the fillies and mares, or the big one tomorrow, the richest race, the Breeders' Cup Classic at the Kentucky Derby distance of 1.25 miles. And it's kind of neat how they break it down, too, because today they pretty much feature the 2-year-olds, and they've been doing it for the last few years. So it's Future Stars Friday, so it gives people the opportunity to see some of the future stars in the game. For instance, the only time they had the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland in 2015, 5 years ago, Songbird won the juvenile fillies for 2-year-olds. She ended up being, a Hall of Famer and won the Kentucky Oaks the next year. And Nyquist won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile that year, and he won the Kentucky Derby the next year. So pretty cool to see future stars today. And then tomorrow, it's all about horses that are present stars and the best horses in the world competing.
All right, we got a lot of gamblers who listen to this show, and it's not a surprise that for most people, the greatest thing about horse racing is being able to win some money while being able to have some alcohol, kick back, have an awesome day. Yeah. And a lot of people, obviously, this year different because a lot of times there's massive crowds at the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland, wherever that race is taking place. This year, that is not the case. So as you break down kind of the big race here, where's the value? What would you suggest to people out there? I know FanDuel owns TVG where you work, so I know they're pretty pumped about all these different races as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, we have obviously we sponsor it's the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile as well, which is going to be a great race at 8 furlongs on the turf tomorrow. That's race number 9. I'll give it a pick in that race just real quickly while we're talking about the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile, because the Europeans, as you can imagine, usually do pretty well in the Breeders' Cup turf races, because that's basically all they have over in Europe is grass racing. So obviously we have the better dirt horses here.
Why? I mean, that's an interesting point. Yep. Why is that? Why is that the standard in Europe?
I don't know. They've
historically, I mean, it's kind of an interesting question, right? I mean, it is kind of fascinating how that's different.
And the reason why it stayed that way, it is, I mean, the racing in Europe goes back obviously hundreds of years, and it's always been grass racing, and the biggest races there have always been turf races. So if you're in the breeding program and you're breeding horses towards the biggest races that are turf races, you're going to breed grass horses, right? Yeah. You're going to breed to sires and dams that were very good turf horses. And in this country, it's more about speed. That's changing a little bit. We're trying to turn the focus to turf racing a little bit, but you're breeding for speed more, dirt. And what's the biggest race here? Kentucky Derby, dirt. So it's all about the breeding programs. That's definitely part of it. But when all you have is racing on one surface, and here that surface is the kind of the alternate surface, the horses over there are going to be better. They don't always ship their best ones over here, but I think they maybe have in the 2-horse in tomorrow's 9th race, the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by the PDJF, and that's Kameko, the 2-horse. Oisin Murphy is an outstanding young up-and-coming rider. And, just going back and looking at the videos, this horse's last race at Newmarket, one of the premier racetracks in Europe, was, I thought, scintillating, and he's turning into a great miler. He's a 3-year-old. So that's a horse that I like tomorrow. He's 6-1 on the line, and that's the beautiful thing about Breeders' Cup. You have great horses where you're going to get you never get prices on them. This is the one day where those horses are bettable, because there's just the fields are so big and there's so many choices, and the public can't bet them all.
Yeah, it's really pretty fascinating to think about. Now, the big race, the $6 million purse, will be happening tomorrow afternoon, and there are a lot of horses that people would be familiar with. How would you break down that race?
Well, Maximum Security is kind of a household name. I mean, you can be a casual racing fan, and I think you know who Maximum Security is because of kind of the drama around him being disqualified from the Kentucky Derby in 2019 in dramatic fashion. Nobody even knew. We thought it was going to go official. Then all of a sudden the inquiry came up, and then all of a sudden he was disqualified. It was the right call, but he's made over $12 million in his career. And then you have Bob Baffert, who I think also, if you watch a couple of horse races a year, you know who Baffert is, and he's he's loaded in the Classic. He has Improbable, who's going to be the favorite. He has Maximum Security now, and he has Authentic, who won the Kentucky Derby, and they're the outside three in the race. So the curious thing for me is that the two fastest horses are probably Authentic and Maximum Security. They're both horses that like to break on top and utilize their speed advantage, but they don't want to duel each other into the ground, right? They don't want the other one to work too hard. So it'd be interesting to see what Baffert's instructions are, because he doesn't want one horse to make it more difficult for the other and vice versa. So that's something to try to figure out. But usually these races, it comes down to me the week of really just grinding and doing the work. But this was the exception, because I really think, I don't know what kind of value he's going to be. He's only 3-1 in the line, but I love Tiz the Law. I thought he's the 2-horse, 3-1 morning line. He was second in the Kentucky Derby to Authentic as the heavy favorite, and I think he just kind of regressed a little bit. In racing, you'll have horses that run like maybe career bests, and if they come back too quickly, sometimes they regress. They can't replicate that performance, and I think that might have been the case with Tiz the Law. He was so good in the Travers, and he didn't have enough time in between races, and he came back in 4 weeks. And he ran really well in the Kentucky Derby. He just kind of dropped off a little bit. Now he's been freshened up. Now we haven't seen him in 60 days. He's a horse who runs extremely well off of a little bit of a break. And I think that break will do him extremely well. And to me, his win in the Travers at the 1.25 mile distance that he's getting in the Classic was maybe the best performance of the year. So I don't love the draw. He's a horse they say likes to be to the outside a little bit. But I'm thinking that he's fast enough that he can kind of break sharply, and there's a slow horse to his inside. He can kind of move off the rail a little bit, and the Baffert horse to the outside go to the lead. He can kind of be stalking them from the 2 or the 3 path. So I do like Tiz the Law. I think I'll probably single him in your exotics, and we'll see what the odds in terms of a win bet, but 3-1 morning line.
Outstanding stuff as always. Unfortunately for you, Matt, that's the same exact pick that I made, and so I think you are cursed as a result of that. I in all seriousness, should be an awesome couple of days of races. Dub Yarborough, who is our producer, is up there representing Outkick. So if you see him around the track anywhere, say hi to him and/or request that security escort him out, because I'm not sure that he's very trustworthy. But we appreciate you getting up early and breaking all that down for us.
Yeah, you're welcome. And the other thing is, before I go, weather in Kentucky this kind of year.
Oh, it's going to be beautiful, right?
It's going to be 70 and sunny today. It's going to be 72 and sunny tomorrow. I mean, next year it's back in Southern California. We're supposed to rain this weekend, so it's a good thing the Breeders' Cup is in Kentucky here in 2020.
It is indeed. I mean, it's going to be an amazing day for sports in general.